This morning on DC News Now, the district debating crime solutions.
This work is really hard. It's really dangerous.
The ongoing dispute over violence interrupter programs. Clouds sticking around with some spotty showers possible when sunshine is expected to return. University of Maryland students battling over free speech.
It's not lawful for campus officials to give in to pressure groups.
Why a Palestinian group is suing the school for canceling a scheduled vigil. And caught on camera, thieves breaking into a grocery store attempting to steal an ATM. The unexpected turn police say happened in their mission to take off with cash. Plus, the DMV gets a dose of reality. The cast for hit dating show Love is Blind finally revealed.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
All right, well, good morning, and thanks for starting your day with us here on DC News Now. I'm Tanaya Wright.
Good morning to you. I'm Corey James. We'll get the latest on the roads from Shanika. Let's start off with Jackie for the forecast. That is really nice and lovely, especially with that sunrise.
Yeah, I mean, the sunrise looks really nice out there. It's a little bit nicer out there for much of the region this morning compared to yesterday, but we are starting off still with some cloud cover out there. A few sprinkles to report. Those are mainly along that Pennsylvania-Maryland state line and then farther south. So in between, we're tracking the dry conditions. Some of those sprinkles, though, still back over towards Spotsylvania County and even back over towards Orange and Culpeper area. Temperatures right now, 60s to low 70s, currently 71 already in D.C. We're 70 in Annapolis, low 70s in Lexington Park, still a bit more on the muggier side with those dew points in the 60s to kickstart your Thursday. So some clouds out there this morning. We'll eventually notice that sunshine breaking out in between the cloud cover by noon and still seeing that later on this afternoon. And eventually with more sunshine, those temperatures will warm up right around 80 degrees. I'll have more details. We'll get that 7-day forecast in just a few minutes. But Shanika's back. The latest on those roadways. How's it looking at this hour?
All right, good morning. Well, we are seeing one problem out there. This is in Prince George's County on the inner loop side. Look at how jam-packed you are right now at the 7 o'clock hour. So you have that left side blocked right near 295, right past 210 Indian Head Highway. You can see how much you're jam-packed right now. So definitely leave early if you must head in that direction. Now, if you're heading over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, once you pass that crash, you should be all good to go. Guys?
All right, Shanika, thank you. It is day 2 of the trial for the Fairfax County police officer who shot and killed a man accused of shoplifting at Tyson's Corner Center last February.
DC News Now's Jean-Marie Sissay is live at the Fairfax County Courthouse. So, Jean-Marie, what can you tell us about this case?
Yeah, good morning. Well, testimonies continue today in the deadly shooting of 37-year-old Timothy Johnson. Now, this all took place back in February, and during yesterday's opening statement, the defense did argue that the officer involved only had seconds to decide whether or not to fire, despite Timothy Johnson not having any weapon on him during that time. Now, back in February of 2023, Johnson was at Tyson's Corner Mall, and police say they received reports of him stealing sunglasses. As he was exiting the store, an alarm went off and he started running. That's when officers followed. Former Fairfax County Sergeant Wesley Shefflet was one of those people chasing him, and body cam footage shows Johnson ran into the woods and Shefflet followed. The defense says Johnson was told to get on the ground. Johnson fell, then reached for his waistband. Assuming he was reaching for a weapon, Shefflet shot him twice. The defense said it was the scariest moment of that officer's life, and one of those bullets hit Johnson in the chest, eventually killing him. Now, later investigators discovered there was no weapon near him, but they did find sunglasses near the scene. Now, Shefflet is currently being charged with involuntary manslaughter and other charges at this time, and the trial will continue today. Defense and prosecutors will continue giving their testimonies towards this case. We're now reporting in Fairfax County, Virginia. I'm Jean-Marie Sissay, DC News Now.
All right, thank you, Jean-Marie. Well, a former special police officer in D.C. is facing federal civil rights charges. A federal court indicting Curtis Holloway. Now, he is accused of using excessive force while trying to make an arrest last October. Investigators say he hit a woman on the head with a gun, then lied to police responding to the scene. Special officers in D.C. serve as security guards. They do have the power to arrest someone on the property they serve. However, prosecutors claim Holloway did not have a legal reason to attack the woman. They say she was running away from Holloway. If convicted, he could face up to 30 years in prison.
All right, D.C.'s police union calling on the city council to cut funding for the violence interrupter program. This comes as Councilmember Trayon White faces a federal bribery charge related to the programs. DC News Now's Max Marcillo reports on the impact as well as what the union believes will stop crime in the district.
It's a critical problem with uncertain solutions, how to stop violent crime in D.C. And although it's down this year, there's still more work to be done.
We have the strategy to really show that we're making a difference in our community.
That's why Marcus Ellis, Peace for D.C. Executive Director, wants his team's violence interrupters to remain in neighborhoods across the district.
We can actually show how our work is, to an extent, complementary to what the Metropolitan Police Department is doing.
Ellis wrote a letter in response to DC's police union, which said in its own letter, if council is serious about addressing crime in the district, it will stop funding unproven, fraudulent violence interruption programs and fully fund MPD.
What the District of Columbia, of course, needs to think about is how can you get the best impact from these programs?
Daniel Webster of the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions is in the midst of a study that will likely be the most comprehensive look at whether these programs work in D.C. He expects the study will release some initial findings later this year. From your work in other cities, namely Baltimore, do you find that they are effective in reducing violent crime?
You see significant reductions in homicides and in some cases in non-fatal shootings as well. But I'll also say that the reductions are not seen in every single neighborhood.
As for why it works in some cases but not others,
you have to do them right. This work is really hard. It's really dangerous. You have to get the right people. You have to train and support them appropriately.
And that was Max Marcillo reporting. DC News Now reached out to DC's police union for comment. So far, we have not heard back.
And an 85-year-old woman has died from her injuries after a crash involving an on-duty Prince George's County police officer. Police say the accident happened at the intersection of Joyston Drive and Campus Way South in Largo last week. Both drivers were taken to the hospital. That officer has since been released. Jeanette Benthall died over the weekend.
Definitely my condolences. My mother's up there as well, and I wouldn't want this to happen to her, so I do feel it, and I hope that you guys can get some sort of peace in this time of condolences and loss. So sorry about that.
Now that crash is still under investigation. Detectives working to collect any video evidence as well as they're asking for any witnesses to contact them.
And staying in Maryland, a chaotic scene in Montgomery County. Thieves crashing a pickup truck into a grocery store to steal an ATM. Take a look at this right here. The driver behind this wheel driving inside a giant store, going forward, then backing up, all while destroying property inside. This happened on Lehman Farm Road in Germantown early Monday morning around 4 o'clock. Montgomery County police say the 3 suspects were wearing masks and they were not successful, they say, in getting money out of the machine. They also tell us when they took off, their truck broke down in the parking lot. Police say all 3 men took off running. Investigators say the truck was also stolen. Maryland State Police are warning of a new online scheme. They say criminals are contacting people, telling them that they have hacked into their computer, gaining access to their information, photos, and contacts. According to MSP, this started last month. The agency says it received several reports specific to Gmail accounts. The fraudsters allegedly emailed the potential victims with a photograph of their home from Google Maps, demanding the victims send money to them via Bitcoin in exchange for not releasing their data. Anyone who may have been a victim or target of this scheme is encouraged to contact police.
A new poll showing Vice President Kamala Harris with the lead in several key swing states. According to a Quinnipiac University poll, she leads former President Donald Trump by at least 5 points in Pennsylvania and Michigan. Now it shows that Harris has the support of 51% of Pennsylvania voters. 45% of voters in the state support Trump. In Michigan, half of voters support Harris, while 45% support Trump. The race is slightly closer in Wisconsin, where Harris leads Trump by 1 point with 48% of the vote. Experts believe neither candidate can win the presidency if they lose all 3 states.
And for the first time since 1996, the Teamsters Union is not endorsing a candidate in the presidential election. The union president saying, quote, neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union to ensure the interests of working people are always put before big business, end quote. The union says this is the 3rd time it has not issued an endorsement. early voting in Virginia. It begins tomorrow.
Yeah, you can vote early in person until November 2nd, 3 days before the election. Now, the early voting process is very similar to voting on Election Day. You're going to need to show poll workers your ID and make sure you're eligible to vote in the district that you visit.
And Virginia offers so many kinds of IDs that are acceptable. Your driver's license, your passport, your employer ID, and several others. And even if you don't have an ID with you, we have an ID confirmation statement that you can sign and still be able to vote in person.
Well, a large voter turnout is expected this year, so early voting could help keep the crowds lower on Election Day. Meantime, Maryland early voting starts October 24th. In D.C., you can head to the polls on October 28th. All right, 7:10 now on a Thursday. A new Virginia law could affect your drive.
Yeah, why Fairfax County is considering lowering speed limits. Plus, celebrating fall in Northeast D.C., how you and your family can head to NOMA to celebrate local art and businesses.
But first, we are taking a live look outside. Jackie, it's not a bad start to the day. We just had a pretty sunrise.
Yeah, we had a really colorful sunrise earlier. Now we're just still dealing with some clouds. There are a few sprinkles around, but mainly away from the D.C. metro area. About more details, time it all out, and a look at that 7-day. That's all right after the break.